Hello, he's Matt, I'm Nat, and thanks for watching BSGcast.
And this week it is Guess What's Coming to Dinner.
And boy, was it good.
Yeah, and I hope you're full because we've got 2 weeks before we have another one. So.
And the trailer just didn't really do the episode justice, huh? It just kind of hinted at the whole Hera storyline, which didn't come to like the last 10 minutes of the episode, which was good.
And I think a lot of the reason I love this episode so much is because I had no idea what to expect
Bay Star.
from it. Oh, and yeah, when the Bay Star.
One of you guys were talking about how it would have been hilarious if there was Starbuck written in yellow paint across the side, which would have been funny. But
Starbuck.
Damn, that was like
what a breathtaking moment. Yeah, it was one of those. It was one of those moments that it's like the Galactica going into New Capricorn.
Exactly.
It's one of those moments.
Catch
and
your breath
so
kind of
cool.
moments. Very
and
cool.
as soon as Ty says, "Weapons hold."
And the look from Adama.
Yeah, the look of death. I couldn't believe that.
Jeez.
And it makes you think, oh, maybe he's going to suspect. No, there's...
Well, you don't know. I mean, like, now that Adama knows that the Final Five are on the ship, he may.
I don't know. Well, next week looks like something cool happens there, but we'll get to that in a bit. First, let's get to some Alienware giveaways. Okay, so last week's Fan of the Week... Great comment from CB2001. And this time it's not for a huge post, it's not even for a theory, it's just for a detail that
a very
would have been
interesting
cool.
detail that no one has thought about. So.
And when Roslin was on the ferry and looked across the shore and saw
all
her
the people
mother
that were passed,
and some people in the colonial uniform, there was just that moment where you think, oh, Billy? Well, we didn't think that, but you did, and that was cool.
So that's pretty cool.
That was cool. Hiring that actor in for a day would have been so awesome. I really wish
just
that
little
happened.
bit of detail that would have been just fantastic.
And on top of that, the idea that, well, if he's not there, is he a Cylon?
No.
Who knows? But very cool. CB2001, you are now up for winning Ozma7 headphones that we're giving away a week later than we hoped, thanks to Sci-Fi and Memorial Day. And you've won yourself a t-shirt, and you have a very cool chance at winning a very cool, humongous Alienware prize.
Which you should go onto their website just to check out and see what kind of things you could be winning.
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff on there. And they've just started this thing called gaming season.
Right, they basically created a season for gamers, since everyone else seems to have a season.
Yeah, and the cool thing is there's all kinds of crazy content with interviews.
Yeah, the interviews and such, and they have tournaments going on, so you should definitely check it out.
And you can actually play against people who work for Alienware, so I don't know if they're just professional gamers or just badass in their spare time, but it's worth checking out, and yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So between now and like the end of June, there's all kinds of gaming going on there. Who'd have thought? It's the Alienware site. On Colonial 1, Lee stands up to Roslin. Like, the first thing we see is him talking about Baltar and finding out that Baltar isn't lying.
That he's telling the truth.
Again, there's more of this Lee experiencing sort of the truth of Baltar, which is kind of cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the
quorum is totally PO'd about not being consulted on the joint operation.
And it was cool to see that Lee didn't say, well, then he said, well, I'm as much in the dark as you are. Instead of saying, well, it's obviously a military operation. You know, it's
Lee's
cool.
Putting himself on their level.
I know. He's being just a citizen, which was great. Very cool to see. And the fact that there's a vote of no confidence being thrown around. Like that, you know, that says a lot about this. But you know what, Roslin said it.
These are people that aren't easy to please. They're just
perpetually unhappy.
So,
and on Colonial 1, it was very cool to see Natalie's speech. Oh, man. That if that's not confirmation...
About the whole harbinger of death.
Yeah,
the idea role for Starbuck, essentially.
Starbuck being the harbinger of death, it's a gift to the Cylons. That
they
death
want death.
Is a virtue.
They want the mortality factor.
Absolutely. And, you know, this attack on the hub might be exactly what brings death to them, which is very cool.
I did want to mention, though, the whole thing with Starbuck. This moment, to me, is just absolute confirmation that Starbuck's not a Cylon. I know some of you guys are throwing around the idea that she is.
I think she's just
absolutely don't think she is. Yeah, exactly.
Her role as Aurora.
She's accepting her role as a facilitator of the prophecy. I mean, even when Roslin, after being so cruel to her, was just like, help me find the opera house, Starbuck didn't even flinch. She's like, okay, that's my role. My role is to help people like you. It's to pass on the prophecy. It's to facilitate the prophecy. It's yet another selfish character that is changing their way. And the way that Baltar is, that the idea that
that selfish character they were when the show began is slowly disappearing. Baltar's had this epiphany of selflessness, of guidance, of a desire to do something higher than just be Baltar.
And maybe we can throw Gaeta in as well. I mean, maybe Gaeta's role now, he's becoming more important not because he's a Final Five, but maybe because he's one of these messenger characters where he's facilitating and sending across the message of the prophecy, destiny.
And there's quite a few, I would say there's quite a few howls of terrible suffering going on here. So who is the final Cylon? Ronald D. Moore is giving us a lot of potentials. Hera is a part of these visions while she's awake.
Were any of you... I have this thing with children and creepy things, and I thought that child was quite creepy when she...
Yeah, she was adorable and creepy. Oh, man.
Little kids are quite often the creepiest things in horror movies. Anyway.
The question for me is, if she's awake when these dreams are happening, maybe they're not dreams. Maybe for her, they're projection. And she's projecting it onto them. Is she the final Cylon?
No.
Could be. Now, Roslin sees Baltar in the vision for the first time, which is kind of cool. I didn't realize she hadn't seen that yet.
Makes you wonder whether Baltar sees the visions too and he's just not telling anyone?
Well, the thing is, the Final Five don't seem to be in these visions either.
But we're not ever seeing their point of view on that either.
I know.
Are they seeing it and not telling anyone?
They're a subject of it, but they're not seemingly in it, which is kind of interesting. Now, the idea of intercutting the chase scene in Galactica with what's going on in the visions in the Opera House was kind of cool.
Well, I know some of you thought so too. It made you wonder whether this was actually the Opera House.
Is this it coming to fruition? I personally don't think so. I think all it was Athena getting wrapped up in the moment, afraid that Six is going to take her child.
It's just too similar of a situation. Boom. And then she shoots the wrong Six, possibly?
Yeah, she shot the wrong Six. I mean, she doesn't seem... That Six... Natalie doesn't seem to have anything to do with those visions. That's Caprica 6 and maybe Head 6 as well. Which begs the question, which Baltar is it? Is it the Head Baltar? I mean, he seems to have no idea he's in it. It could be that he's lying. Maybe he does know, but it seemed pretty genuine to me. Now, the real question is Natalie dead?
I know some of you are quite upset with this because you guys love Natalie.
And it's totally out of the blue.
And as Hunter pointed out, maybe she isn't dead because Aids are pretty bad at shooting and killing.
She shot Adama twice in the chest.
She tried to kill herself, and she just shot herself through.
She couldn't even hit herself in the head. So it's an interesting question.
And in the preview for next week, in 2 weeks, it kind of looks like she might be alive.
She's doing something, but is she dying?
Who knows?
That's an interesting question, because thus shall it come to pass, the dying leader shall come to know the truth of the Opera House. If that's Six, if that's Natalie not Roslin, how much would that suck?
Because she's dying and she's clearly the leader, as Starbuck pointed out, of those Cylon groups. So.
Which leads us to next week. Natalie's still clinging to life. Tests on Caprica 6. Is this DNA? Is this Ty's DNA? Is she pregnant with Ty's child?
No.
What's going on?
I don't think so.
Well, we never see how that scene ends. Last thing we saw was her beating the crap out of him, so it's hard to say for sure. We saw Romo Lampkin coming back. We saw Lee sworn in as something. Vice president, maybe? That's hard to say.
Who knows?
Now, we saw a ship in a graveyard that looked a lot like a Viper Mark 7. I would love to know what the hell was going on. We have 2 weeks until we're going to find out. We don't have Memorial Day in Canada, so for us, it's just a week with no BSG.
So we have sine qua non next week.
Which is a Latin phrase, which means the indispensable element.
So we'll see what happens, and we'll just have a crappy Friday with no BSG next week.
Yeah, so maybe we'll put a theory episode together. Maybe we'll just have lots to say. It's hard to say for sure, but we will see you guys in 2 weeks for sure.